Hi there, so good to see you and so happy that you're watching this webinar because this webinar is what I call my signature webinar. All the things that I've learned over the past 20 years in working with leaders, in working with athletes, in working with entrepreneurs, I've decided to put that into one webinar. Yeah. So, and we're going to talk about today about the key topic there, and that is growth, or how can you achieve almost anything you want. There's a nuance, as you can see, it's almost anything, so not anything, but it's also not everything, but we say here anything, right? So there's a nuance, but within that frame, within that nuance, you can really achieve so much, and you don't realize that you're only one habit away. And the big thing here is if you know how to create a habit and to make a habit stick, then you get really where you want to go. If that is losing weight, being a better partner, father, mother, being a better performer at work or whatever, or in the sports field, if you know that how to make a habit stick, it's really the secret. It's really the golden nudge here. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. One of the persons who have written an interesting book around this, and that I've also parts of it have put into this webinar, is James Clear. Credits to people who deserve the credits. One of the persons who have made a big contribution in this area is James Clear, and I've made an infographic about his book and parts of this webinar, and I will give this infographic away. So if you want that, then I will let you know at the end of the webinar where you can get it. Okay, my name is Anne Johan Willemsen, AJ, and I'm the founder of TopMind 20 years ago. I worked for more than 10 years with professional athletes. I work for 20 years now with entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and all kind of different people. They have one thing in common, and that they all want to grow. Yeah, they are considering themselves as leaders, either towards themselves or towards others, and they are really willing to invest in themselves to grow. So if you are one of them, then this is a perfect webinar for you. If you really feel I want to grow, then that's enough. Yeah? You don't have to be of a certain status or whatever. As long as you want to invest in yourself, and I think you want, otherwise you would not watch this video, then you are really the perfect audience for that. I was lucky. In 2015, an academic research have been done about the TopMind training system, and a big PhD thesis has been published. A couple of good insights there, good benefits out of it. This study for more than a year was that people got less stressed, people got more satisfied at their jobs, and people got more empathetic. So that was good to know, but we've developed a lot more after 2015, as you can imagine, and I will tell you more about that today. People ask me always, why are you doing what you do, AJ? And the reason actually is one of the big epiphanies in my life making me this decision is that my father was a surgeon. I'm a son of a surgeon, and he became a surgeon when he was about 35 years old. And as you know, surgeons, they have to train a lot, have to long education, about 12 to 16 years, and then finally you're a supervisor. Well, to make a long story short, he found out at this time that this was too heavy for him. Not so much physically, technically, or tactically, or whatever, no. Mentally and emotionally, it was too hard for him. And that was the 80s last century, a long time ago. I was a young boy, 10, 12 years old. I don't know exactly how old I was, but around 10, 12 years old. And I saw my father suffering from his job. He couldn't cope with the pressure. And then there was not the time of internet, and there was not the time of coaches and personal development, whatever, all the things we know now. So he had a little bit of a problem. It was either stop or continue the way he did. But he was lucky if he had a friend who went to a course, and that course was one of the first personal development courses in the world, in the history. And he went there and he came back with this very simple, small exercise. We would call it a mindfulness exercise now. It was kind of a body scan that he did. And he was so desperate that he decided to do that on a daily basis. He started doing that, a 10-minute exercise, this mindfulness exercise, and I, as a son, saw him changing for the good, for the better. I saw him becoming more calmer, more focused. He was more patient. He had more energy, and he slept better. And as you can imagine, he was a better surgeon because he was more in balance than he was before. So just because of this very simple exercise he did on a daily basis, he saved his own career, and he saved probably a lot of lives of his patients, as you can imagine. So the early lesson in my life when I was 10 years old was that one habit can change your entire career and your entire life. One simple habit. And then always people say, oh, tell me more about this habit. Well, I tried this habit, it didn't work for me. My mother went to the same course and she tried it and it didn't work for her. And I found out only years later that it was not so much the exercise or the technique that he did, but the reason why it worked was that he did it on a daily basis as a habit. Like brushing his teeth, he was doing this exercise, and that really made the difference. So that's the big epiphany that I had in an early stage of my life, where I really kind of planted the seed of all the things that I do now. One habit can change your entire life. We'll talk about the idea about how that works. How can you make sure that you stick to habits? Yeah. So what we will learn today is, okay, why do most habits fail? That's the thing that we will discuss today. As well, the potential of one new habit to transform your life or your work. The 3 steps for growth. So what are the 3 steps here? How can you have enough with only 3 minutes a day? All right. He did 10 minutes, but you can do it in 3 minutes, I believe. And we'll tell you later how. And how can you grow and develop without learning more theories and concepts and philosophies and techniques? It's not about all the content and information, but what it is about, we'll tell and share with you later. All right. So that's the topics for today. And then the core question is, why did it work for my father? And why didn't it work for so many others, the same technique? And why does some things work for one person and not for the other? And I've been exploring this question for 20 years. And I'm never there. So I never fully cracked the whole formula, but I really strongly believe I have done a big part of it. I helped thousands of leaders build simple, powerful habits that really changed their lives. They did it themselves, and I supported them there. And the big idea, and that's, if I have to summarize everything into 2 words, the big idea here is what we call, the one thing is what we call guided consistency. That's the secret, right? Guided consistency. That's the missing link. Everyone is focusing on what you need to do, what kind of technique, so what kind of secrets and what kind of frameworks, but nobody's talking about how can you make sure that you start doing these techniques or strategies and keep them doing it for a while, long enough to get the results. Yeah? So the how is not talked about a lot. And the truth is, you can achieve everything you want, you can achieve anything you want as long as you consistently practice. So that's why it's called guided consistency. But we also know that in most cases, you have to have a little bit of guidance there. We cannot do it all by ourselves. That's the reason why the gyms, the fitness schools are so full now with fitness trainers telling their pupils, their people they work with, so give me another 5, right? They guide them through a certain discipline. My father went to this course and he went to another couple of courses to guide him the way that he wanted to go and solve his problem that I'd explained before. So you need a little bit of guidance there. Guided consistency, that's the secret, the one thing that I worked out. Well, you might think, okay, I'm not a surgeon, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I am I'm a gardener, or I'm a house mother, or whatever. It doesn't matter so much what you are. It matters if you are willing to really invest in yourself. Because with guided consistency, you can literally achieve anything you want. Learning to play the piano, we all know that metaphor there. If you wanted to learn an instrument, you have to practice a little bit, a couple of times a week. It's not about going to your lessons once every month or once every week, and then it's all about the practice as well. So that's the main ingredient. And a lot of old people already said it. Aristotle already said we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but it's a habit, right? So we know it already for ages, but somehow it got a little bit to the background. Yeah. So that's it. And the only thing you need is a little bit of willingness to grow. Well, the reason why you watch this video is because you want to grow, so you're in that category. The thing important to know is you cannot consume it, right? Just learning the information is not enough. How can you apply information into practice is what we're going to talk about. So if you're an investor in your own growth instead of a consumer of your own growth, then you're in the right place here. Right. Okay, I'm going to share with you the 3 keys of the formula. The 3 big steps. And if you understand that, then you are so much further and you can really start to apply that into your own practice. The first key is, how can you achieve anything you want? That's it, right? That's the first chunk of it. The second one is, how can you delegate self-discipline? And that's about the guidance here. How can you delegate discipline? Because discipline, self-discipline, willpower always is the kind of the Achilles heel in development. That's a difficult one to do for ourselves, to really bring up the discipline every day to do it. So you have to delegate that a little bit. The other thing is, how can you have enough in 3 minutes, and how can you make sure that you measure the progress? Because that's kind of the fuel for the fire. If you feel that you progress, not just subjectively, but also objectively, and you can monitor the progress, it's so much easier to sustain the practice. Now, these are the 3 things. So we also call that, first one is training, second one is tracking, and the third one is tracing. So training is learning the techniques, setting the goal, make it specific, making a good plan. Tracking is how can you make sure that you keep people on track. And the third one is measuring or tracing. Where are you on the journey? These are the 3 main categories of the formula of growth. Now, let's start with the first one. The person that I learned this from are a couple, but this was one of the most important ones. He's called as a soccer player from the Netherlands. He's playing in Australia now, and he's called Bart Vriends. Bart Vriends is still a football player, and he worked with me for about half a year or so, and he was so enthusiastic and so disciplined that he came to me almost every week to do a training session with me here in the office. And after a couple of months, he said to me, AJ, I really like the training, and I like the techniques, and I like all the instruments, and I like the practice and the exercises we do together. The thing is, when I go home, I simply forget about it. You know, we have a clear intention when we are together, but when I leave your office and I go back to the training field, or I go back to the match on Sunday, I forget about what we agreed on. And that is strange, he said, because I got to learn that everything I want to learn is a matter of practicing. If I want to get better at shooting with my left foot, it's just a matter of kicking 1,000 balls, staying after the training 15 minutes every day to get better at a certain technique or a certain exercise or a certain move or whatever. So, and here it is strange because here it is about talking. So if I just mentally set myself an intention, then it should be enough. But I see in practice it's not enough. So that's strange. Something is missing, he said. And I thought, I was already in the business of coaching for about 10 years. And then somebody said to me, you're not doing a really good job. You're not helping me as much as I like. And with athletes, it was a pretty good learning experience, because they simply said to me, AJ, I want to work with you, but it has to work. I have to get better. If I don't get better as an athlete, I will probably lose my job. So they were very practical, they wanted to have it measurable, and they were very disciplined as well, which was a good way for me to understand, because that made me disciplined as well. And Bart said to me, okay, AJ, I love what you talk about, but it simply doesn't work in practice. Okay, it was basically the whole story. So I thought, I need something. I need to have him do the things in practice that he learned during the training sessions. How can you transfer the information and the intentions you have into practice and turn that into a habit? Because almost everything we do is a matter of habits. We brush our teeth for already many years, and the result is that we keep it till the end of our lives. We've learned that habit. And experts say that about 40%, and some say even 90% of all the things we do is a matter of habits that we repeat all the time. And that's interesting, because if you can change a few, and you can kind of unlearn a few ineffective ones, and you can relearn or learn a few effective ones, then you can change your life, right? So that's the whole trick. How can you change your habits? And Bart already pointed me at the heart of the matter. It's not about the information, it's about what you do with it in practice. And it takes a while to form a habit. And it takes about an average 66 days, but that's not so much of interest, because it's more about some habits are really simple, you can do in 3 weeks, and some habits are more complicated, and that takes about almost a year, 254 days. Pointed out in research. The more complex the behavior, the longer it takes to practice it and to make it stick. And that's the idea. And if you skip a day, that's fine. Also, we found out that you don't have to do it every day. It's not that you cannot fail. It's simply a matter of picking it up again and try again and try again and try again until the point that it is automatic, habitualized. That's the first thing. Okay, so how can you keep people on track? And that's the interesting one that I learned from another teacher, because when Bart said to me, AJ, it doesn't work, the whole thing is very interesting, but it really doesn't reflect into my behavior. Then I started Googling and reading books and things on how can you make people do the things that they want to do. The person that I learned this from is called Marshall Goldsmith. He's here with me on the picture that we gave a couple of workshops. And one of the things that he said, so the reason why I'm successful, he said, and he is successful, right? Lots of books, and he has worked with lots of leaders all around the world. And he said, the reason why I'm successful is not so much that I'm so disciplined or that I'm so smart or that I'm so talented. The reason why I'm so successful is that I have a woman call me every single day asking me the same questions that I want to ask myself. He's doing that for many, many, many years. I'm not sure about, but at least 10, 15 years he's doing that on a daily basis. He has a woman call him every single day at 10 o'clock at night, wherever he is in the world. And I will share a little video with you of where he explains how that works. Let me see if I can find it here.
I have a woman call me on the phone every day. We're going to talk about the daily question process. Every day she listens to me read questions I wrote and provide answers I wrote every day. Every day. Someone said, why do you have a woman call you every day? Don't you know the theory about how to change behavior? I wrote the theory about how to change behavior. That's why I have a woman call me every day. My name is Marshall Goldsmith. I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the whole world and #1 coach in the whole world. I have a woman call me on the phone every day just to listen to me read questions I wrote every day and provide answers I wrote every day. Why do I do this? I'm too cowardly to do this by myself. I'm too undisciplined to do this by myself. I need help. It's okay. Well, we all need help, and it's okay.
That's interesting, right? So he said the big reason of my success is that I have I have a woman call me every single day, 10 o'clock at night, wherever I am in the world, she's calling me, asking me the same questions that I want to ask myself every single day. And that's the reason why I make things a habit, where I make my intentions an automated behavior in a way. So that was a big epiphany I had in 2014, 15. And I started calling my clients, Bart, and all my other athletes and all my leaders and entrepreneurs that I was working with. I called them every single day, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, asking them their personal questions that they want to work on a daily basis. Some quantitative, how many times have you done this? Some qualitative or open, give an example where you were successful in setting yourself your own boundaries or whatever they want to work on. I ask them only 2-3 minutes a day. I talk to them and I collected the information. I made a little scorecard for the end of the week. That was my first version of helping people stay on track. Well, then there was another thing. They said, okay, how can I make sure and how can I measure that people really get better, that they progress? And that's the thing that I learned from another teacher. And that's another teacher, and the teacher is called Ben Tichelaar. He's a Dutch professor, psychology, has done a lot of studies in this area of change and self-management, etc. And he learned to me, he said, AJ, you have to make sure that the best motivator of personal growth is what he calls self-monitoring. How can you make sure that people measure their progress? Because they will feel it if things will work for them or not, but it makes it even stronger if you can objectively say, yes, I do it more often, I do it better, my environment is really seeing me change, whatever the metric is, it works to self-monitor you. That's what we call trace here. And so I've worked on a system that not only tracks, keep people on track, but also measure if they stay on track, what does that result in? The thing that we developed, because calling my clients was a little exhausting, as you can imagine, we started working on an app that did the same thing, but also collected the information and instantly made the progress visible. So we developed an app we call Tracking Coach, a coach that keeps you on track, to really see, okay, are you doing the things you promised yourself to do? What was the quality? Give an example where you did. All kind of different personal questions that you can ask yourself that is provided and supported by this app. It's called Tracking Coach. And you can see the progress over time, things you already have achieved at the level you want, or some elements or weeks that you don't, or you have made progress but you're not there yet, etc. So really see the different progress that you do on your journey, and therefore we call it trace. And where are you on your journey? So these are the three things: train, track, and trace. How can you achieve almost anything you want? How can you make a habit stick? How can you delegate discipline? And how can you work on it for 3 minutes a day and measure the progress? These are the main things. So the thing is here, well, we have about 45 minutes, not 60 minutes, but the thing is, okay, the first step is, of course, is this meaningful for you? Does this make sense? And if so, then how would it be if you work on yourself in this way for a while? How can you get there? Well, there are different ways to do that. One of the things you can do is set yourself reminders every day and reflect on your day every day, day in, day out. You can do everything that I've explained, you can do by yourself. You also now can develop your own app, right? ChatGPT is already capable of making your own app, doing this for you. Yeah? There are also habit trackers that you can use. But the thing that you also can start doing is asking my help or our help to do so, and use our app to do so. Well, honestly, I don't mind whatever you do, as long as it works for you. Yeah? But if you want to work with me, you can do that for 3 minutes a day. You can delegate self-discipline. You can become your own coach in that area. and you have me supporting you on your way, and you can learn techniques that optimize and direct the energy that you put into your own self-development. Yeah, it's a fun way, and that's one of the values we have in the business. In our company is we help improve the lives of leaders, but it has to be playful, it has to be fun. So that's how we built this whole app. If you want to work with me or you want to see how that works, no decision you need to make now is you can schedule a call with me for 20 minutes maximum, where I explain to you exactly what you can do, how it works, etc. And you can do that for 4 weeks, so you don't have to commit yourself for 6 months or for a year. No, you can start with a couple of weeks and then see if that works. If it works, then you continue. If it doesn't work, then you simply stop. That's the idea. So if you want to do that, click the link below now, because if this video is gone, then you probably will not find it. And then you schedule a call with me for 20 minutes and I'll explain exactly how the process works. And then we can download the app and make it and activate it so you can work with it for a couple of weeks. Well, at least whatever you do, I hope this was of value. I'm really eager to hear what you think. If you like the video, then like it. If you have a question for me, please ask. You always get a reaction from me, a reply within 24 hours. So say aj@topmind.com. And if you want to meet me, then schedule a call as explained. Thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye.